Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. The road to Avengers Doomsday continues. We are taking a break from Marvel-specific timeline to jump back into the Sonyverse. We are now officially in the Sony Spider-Man universe minus Spider-Man, whatever they want to call it. We've had a couple of TV shows with WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki. We had our first movie with Shang-Chi. And now we're diving back into Sony with, I think, a quite underappreciated flick. I understand the critiques of it, but I definitely feel like it's more enjoyable than people made it out to be. And that is Venom, Let There Be Carnage, with maybe one of the coolest steelbooks I have in my collection. Like, the Venom series, across the board, incredible steelbooks. So Venom, Let There Be Carnage picks up a couple of years later after the first Venom film. We know this because in the post-credit sequence, it is on the same timeline as Far From Home. Which, now that I'm thinking about that, oh yeah, no, that's all right. I forgot about the 5-year time jump. Oh my goodness, these timelines. Eddie Brock and Venom are now living together. Eddie is still working with the police in kind of a minimal capacity to help uncover people doing the wrong thing. And he has been approached by Cletus Cassidy, a renowned serial killer who wants Eddie Brock to tell his story. During a rather intense meeting, part of Venom's symbiote breaks away and gets into Cletus's bloodstream, and thus Carnage is born. The biggest critique of this film that people had was that it should have been an R rating. They want to be far more violent and gory. Honestly, I can see both sides of that. Yes, it would have been cool, especially after seeing Craven, which we'll talk about way down the track. The Craven film is the first and only Sony Spider-Man film to go for a hard R, and I do think that's the biggest pitfall of this universe. I think if they had have really tried to separate themselves and make a more adult, more mature comic book world, they might have had a bit more success. It seems like they were trying to impress everyone. But that being said, like, this is very much the sequel I expected from the first Venom film. It feels like it's in the same universe. The characters are as wacky as before. That first Venom film is insanely funny and silly, despite being about a giant, 8-foot-tall goo monster. Woody Harrelson as Cletus is really good. He also voices Carnage, just like how Tom Hardy voices Venom, in addition to playing Eddie Brock. And their dynamic is quite interesting. It feels like a much smaller film than the first one. The first one, they really utilized the San Francisco landscape, going all around there. And I think due to the COVID lockdown, they were limited in what they could do. So it is kind of restrained to Eddie's apartment, Ravencroft Institute, the church, and a couple of other places, but it's very, very small compared to the first one. And that's probably my biggest critique. But given the time that they shot it in that COVID lockdown, I think it's impressive we got a sequel like this at all. Visually, it's still really cool. Carnage looks awesome. I really dig his look. My biggest frustration with the film is that they kill Carnage at the end. The symbiote gets eaten by Venom, and Cletus Cassidy gets killed. And you kind of feel like, oh, well, maybe somehow it'll come back in a sequel, but they never did anything with it. But yeah, there's not much more to say about it. It's a very short film. It's only about 90 minutes long, which is refreshing for modern comic book films, given how long they tend to be. But at the same time, I think they could have padded it out a little bit longer and done a bit more character development for everyone, really. This film also follows the trope set up by Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where as soon as we've brought everyone together as a family and united them, the second film, we split them up. So the first film was all about Eddie and Venom bonding, forming that symbiotic relationship. And then within the first half hour of this film, they're on their separate ways. They're not together anymore. But they do come back, of course, to become the lethal protector and, save the day. There's also a post-credit sequence. Unfortunately, it's a typical Sony post-credit sequence, which doesn't really go anywhere. Obviously, the first Venom post-credit sequence did set this movie up, but we will see a tradition with Sony films with Morbius, and I can't remember if Madam Web has a post-credit sequence, but this one sets up a clash with Spider-Man. It's the last kind of Spider-Man film before No Way Home, and it shows Venom and Eddie being brought into the MCU. They see J. Jonah Jameson's story about the unmasking of Peter Parker, and Venom is very interested in Spider-Man, and so we're like, yeah, great, they're going to clash. Never happens in No Way Home. And I think that had to do with the COVID shooting as well. I think the initial plan was that Venom was going to be the sixth villain. It was going to be very much a Sinister Six type of movie. And then obviously for whatever reason it didn't go ahead, which is a shame, but that film has got plenty going on anyway. Underrated, had a lot more potential to do more, but I think all in all, the sequel that makes sense the most. Really fun flick. Give it a go. In terms of returning, Venom, I talked about already. I do think we'll see some sort of symbiotic action in Secret Wars. It would be a huge misstep not to do it, considering how tied to Secret Wars Venom is. If at the very least seeing black suited Spider-Man. But Carnage, why not? If we're going to bring tons of villains into Secret Wars, and I'm not saying they are, but like that's what Secret Wars is. It's two teams, like a massive team of heroes, a massive team of villains. If they're going to do that, bring that guy in. Why not? Next up is Eternals.